Legends. We're at Flint Ridge and Gosling on our way to pick up the group. We got the green here. We've got about probably 14 or 15 minutes. Should be enough time to get up there. Yeah. So we'll get some clip for you legends. Hope you got a chance to move your body. It's Saturday. What else are you gonna be doing?
Moving along.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rolled into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR, headed on a research forest. We warmed up. Once we got on Fishcreek, we started to film after the downhill, and the action was good. I attacked on the overpass, started a break. Mike Barrera, Paulie Longa, and Shimpusan, we all stayed together. Then the group regrouped, and we got on 2854. We stopped briefly at Taco, then we went through the forest, took 149 out to Bethel Road, came back south. We took Bailey Grove back to 149 and went back and made another stop at Taco. It was a very humid day. Then we took 2854, went back through Mill Route to Rabon Chapel, came back on Leah Drive to Fishcreek. We started to film on Fishcreek. By the time we got into town, it was very congested near the Woodlands area. I think the day after we found out there was some funeral procession. But I think you will love the clips we got for you.
All right.
The open road, the FM 2978 Fishcreek Thoroughfare, Sandera Boulevard. We're headed north. We had filmed a little clip earlier because we had to stop because Doug in a white jersey on the right there had a flat, so we waited for him. And when I reviewed the clips, it was like in fast forward motion. It was like it was sped up, almost like a time lapse. So something happened. I had updated the software on the camera, so maybe that had to do with it, but I don't understand because we did our intro and it was fine. So anyhow, I'm glad we turned the camera off and got it to work. Maybe it was just a fluke. I'm not sure what's going on software. At this point in the ride, the pace is very good. I had a good training week. I had great legs on this ride. I went back, I'm using my old Giro shoes, the Prologue. They're all nicely broken in. My feet were really happy. It's very windy, you know, it's breezy, you can hear it. And we're moving at a good clip, you know, 23 miles an hour, 35 kilometers an hour. At this point, I'm not thinking about, you know, attacking or starting a breakaway or anything, but it actually ended up being a spur of the moment kind of thing. You guys who have been following the channel, there's a guy here named Shimpusan, John Mulberry. Every time the road goes up, they like to go off the front. And you'll see him do it a couple of times. You'll see him do it even after I start the breakaway. So they started that when we got to the overpass, and at that point I decided, okay, let's just really spice things up. So it was just one of those impromptu moves. We've got a good turnout today. Not everybody continued into the forest. The group kind of split probably in half. At Taco Corner, people came back home. Usually it's a decision-making point. Taco Corner is about 35 or 36 kilometers from the woodlands. And I'm rounding up. It might be a little less than that. It might be 30 kilometers, about 18 miles. We're at the back. Paul is behind me. He's the last rider in the pace line. We had stopped. That's Doug up there in the white Rafa jersey there, Brevet. And we had stopped for him because he had stopped to fix a flat. And so when they came by, we ended up at the rear, which is fine. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's the easiest part of the group to be in. But right here, the sprinkler systems, they've been watering the asphalt. And so I'm making sure I don't stay in anybody's spray. That's what that was about. You see Paul wipe the lens just to be sure he didn't get any droplets on it. I'm keeping my cadence high to respond to the changes in speed. We're about probably 2 kilometers from Ridge Lake Shores. There's an entrance there. It's almost 2.5%. There's a red light right there. We kind of use those as markers. I'm wearing the Souke kit today. Those of you who saw the review, if you didn't, I guess I could put a link in here when I load it for the review. But the shorts, the bib shorts I'm wearing, they call their BS 1601, and it's green, and I'm telling you, I am just in love with them. I like them so much, I wore them like 3 times after the review. You know, of course, you wash them after every wear. I certainly hope you guys do. You don't want to ever re-wear your shorts without washing them. But the pads are just really, really well done. They disappear. And you see how good they look. They feel better than they look. Very supportive, and you know, a guy like me with big thighs, they're perfect. There's nothing restricting me. They're very stretchy. Almost like I wouldn't call them Spanx, but it's kinda in that realm. They form, I mean, look at how they look. They just fit you. It's like they basically take whatever shape you put in them. Very supportive. I'm very, very pleased. We like them so much. I contacted the agent with Souke, and she's going to be sending other colorways of the BS 1601. They have them in other colors. I really like them. I haven't gotten to wear the cargo pants yet, so probably next week I'll wear the cargo pants, but I'm telling you, these are a keeper. I wore them for almost 6 hours on this ride, and I had worn them like, let's see, another 6 hours during the week. I wore them on 3 separate rides during the week, and I just love how they feel. It's the kind of shorts that you would reach for, like a go-to, and they're about 1/3 of the price of the top guys, whether it's Rafa, Asos, or whatever. So yeah, Souke's doing something right, and I'm also wearing the orange jersey on this ride. The color fastness is not as tight. I probably should have washed them a couple of times, the orange jersey, because it left a little bit of an orange tinge on the white bib strap. So maybe it was my fault, but they're very, very lightweight. They get wet. You'll see on this ride, they get wet and you'll see the wet spots as you perspire, but they dry quickly. And they refer to them as their Max Line quick dry. That's what they call them. I will put the links for what I'm wearing in this video. So those of you who didn't see the review, get yourself copies, because those shorts are awesome. And with their sale, they're gonna sell out. You see how they look on my legs? I have very long legs, and they just fit so well. That's the way I like my shorts to fit. I'm standing because it just felt good. I didn't want to shift. Just kind of keeping that gear rolling. We're moving at a good clip today. I mean, I'm sitting in at about the top of zone 2. I stand once again dancing on the pedals. I stay a little to the left of Mike's wheel because I have to protect my wheel. That's my responsibility. I have to respect the fact that he might move right or left. So I'm not overlapping right this second, but when I do overlap, I move over some more into the main lanes to give myself some leeway. So today's ride is not a casual Sunday ride or whatever. This was a ride of attrition, and you will see shortly it's about to begin. So if you're not looking for this kind of ride where there are a lot of attacks and so forth, then yeah, you want to find a group that is just doing a social ride per se. I chatted with a member on the channel, a subscriber, and mentioned to her that, I think her name is Dawn, I hope I got it right, mentioned to her that you need to like pick a group that would meet the kind of riding you want to do. And that applies to everybody, not just her. But the group's character will change based on who shows up, the time of year, you know. And that's what's good. There's no perfect group. When they're working for you, you stay with them, and when they're not, you break off and do your own thing. I thoroughly enjoyed these shorts. So yeah, I'm looking for the other colors. When they send them, I will do another video, hopefully, or maybe just wear them on the ride and show it, introduce it to you all, because they're doing a good, I mean, for the price point, I was very, very pleased with the performance. And no pilling. I mean, I wore them out. The 1 week I wore them 4 times. You know, I wash them in the washer, the washing machine, nothing special, gentle cycle I do for all my cycling wear. Somebody's forcing the pace up there. We're going on this mound. We're approaching the overpass. So I got up to like 500 some watts. So if you're not training like that, it can really tax you. At this point, I'm watching because I know that when we get to the overpass, John and sometimes James, they always try to take off the front. And so the pace changes because everybody wants to keep up. So this is where the action really begins. You will see me move over, and I think Paul will move over too. You will actually, yeah, that's John. We'll call him Shampoo-san. He wasn't pulling. He's actually riding off the front. James is on the right. He was pulling. You will see me look behind, right here, to make sure the lane is clear, and I'm gone. Look at the watts. I'm gone. No passengers. I get to James. I pass him. I move up. I'm out of camera. I catch Shampoo-san, and I pass him. I am gone. The watts are going to drop because I'm probably descending. No one is with me. And you will see in a little bit, I will put an arrow there. So at this point, I am alone off the front. Those 2 guys you see there, they're nowhere near me. You can see my heart rate keeps going up. The speed, I'm doing 44K. That's about 27 miles an hour. And I just decided, I looked in my mirror and nobody was there. I decided I'm just going to ride around 25 miles an hour or so. Just keep it going to Capitol Road. So at this point, there's no organization. So nobody wants to really do. There I am. I'm in the distance there ahead of those guys. And I believe that Shampoo-san and James. So there's no organization. They're not really working together or anything. So Mike Barrera is going to launch a chase here, and this is kind of how you start a breakaway, because only the strongest riders will come up there. So since I didn't just accelerate and sit up, I kept it going. You got to work to get to me. I'm in the distance. You can see me up there. I'm doing like 23. I figure whoever comes will have to do like 25, 26 to catch me. So Mike Barrera was hoping somebody else would launch the chase because they're in a position to chase. And so in a little bit, he will go ahead and accelerate. So I'm moving over in the left lane. We're going to be turning. 'Cause that was a hard attack. And now there's the impetus of the group. You'll see them, they need a break because it was hard trying to get up to me. They really didn't work together. That's the biggest thing. If they had worked together, they would have saved a lot of energy. But everybody was just riding. You can't do that. So I'm gonna turn, I'm gonna stand and kick it. Because we gotta keep it hard so we can only get a hard-nosed riders to get up there. This is Harry, he's from Seattle. He joined us a few weeks ago. Paul goes around and the three of us are up the road here. Because Mike Barrera has come by, Shampoo Science on his wheel. I'm still on the right there and I'm going to get behind and get on Shampoo Science's wheel here. And then Paulie Lunga comes on my wheel. So you got four of us here. I was not aware that he had turned the camera. Look at the gap. That's how you start Breakaway. You only attract the strongest riders if you can attack and then sustain it for a minute of, let's say 5 minutes or whatever, instead of just attacking and sitting up. And in this situation here, you can use the downhill to catch a breath. But I had already recovered before we turned over there. That's really why I attacked that corner again. So we're doing about 32 miles an hour or something like that. I don't know why they're way back there. We're not really going that hard here. It's downhill, we're just riding. I let them know there's a car up, I move to the right. I don't like to be near cars when they're passing, especially on these roads with no center line, center stripe. I thoroughly enjoyed those shorts on this ride. It was as if to say, they weren't there, and that's the way your equipment should be. You shouldn't be thinking about them. They should just do their job. They're perfect for fast riding, for any kind of riding, really. Whatever material, it's like a silky material, but it's very expandable. It just kind of wraps you, it conforms to your shape. We're gonna be turning, it's clear. I've already checked left. When we turn, it's a bit of a grade. Now Mike Barrera is pulling. I'm looking back to see, this is where I started to check to see if they're there. I think they're getting closer. So Mike Barrera is done pulling, and then I go through. I want to keep this going. I want to keep the break going. We're not going that hard. I think they're getting closer. In a little bit, I think they catch back up. So that was kind of a zone 4 effort on the overpass. And now right here, I'm in sweet spot. For me, anyway. The wind's pounding, the road is undulating. It's a slight grade, but you feel it. I'm riding a 5319 or something like that. The road goes up a little bit. I downshift and I'm working the bike to keep the gear up. I'm trying to stay on top of the gear here. This is a slight grade. In a little bit, I'm gonna roll off the front. I don't want Paul to spend too much time there, so I tell him, let's rotate. Because there's 4 of us in the front here. And only Mike and I have been pulling for the most part. I just tell him he gets that. I mean, rotating pace line. You get through, take a shortcut, drift off, let the next guy come through. And in a little bit, you hear Mike Barrera will tell him, you know, will tell Shepusai, so these guys are back on our wheel, but I'm going to come back up. Paul has pulled off the front. Mike Barrera takes over, and then Shepusai is on his wheel. I go ahead and roll in because there was a gap. So right here, there's somebody on my wheel won't let Paul in because they're sitting in. I was probably Darren, because he don't want to follow anybody small. So I told Paul to get in front of me. And we've talked about it before. So he gets in front of me, and then he leaves a gap for me so I can come around. That's how we make sure that he gets the spot he wants, because I want to keep him up here. It's not that easy at the back. This is where you want to be. Otherwise, you miss out on moves and stuff. In a little bit, you'll hear Mike Barrera tell Shepusai, because Shepusai doesn't want to pull through, that he's on the party bus. Because he's just sitting in the back, even though he's here. He hasn't taken a pull yet from the time we got on Capitol Road. So we're checking. There's a dead end on the left. It's clear. Mike says it's clear, and he's done pulling. But then he wanted John to come through. I'll go ahead and go through. Watch.
Come on back here. There's the party bus. That's what I call it. That's what we call it. They're all back in the party bus.
He called it a party bus. They don't want to come through. He says he's back in the party bus. You know, but what happens is the effort was hard. So John doesn't want to pull. But the funny thing about it is he doesn't want to pull through, but watch. As I approach the hill, I'm going to try to keep the effort steady. That's a little dog there. We're telling him not to run out of the road. He just looked at us like we were crazy. He didn't have our time, but you can't tell with them anyway. So anyway, as I start to go up, then he accelerates and passes me, and I'm thinking, so why didn't you take your pull back there? So, you know, Mike told him you're on the party bus. So it's like, if you're going to sit back there and not pull through, then why are you passing? That was one of the reasons why I did that breakaway back there. They like to do that. So he comes in front. I just lift my pace. You see my cadence? I stayed in the same gear and just turned it faster. I figure I'll sit on him till he's done, because he's not going to sit up there that long. And then I'll just resume what I was doing. But if you have that energy to do that, why didn't you just pull through and take the pull? So some of the stuff these guys do does not compute. I am sitting on his wheel real tight, because as soon as he's done, I'm going to pull through, because they'll come through and then they can't sustain it. And that ends up slowing the group down, because when they do those short acceleration and they pull off, if no one else is there that can pull through, the group slows down. So this was different on this ride, because we didn't slow down, because Mike and I just kept forcing things. I'm just shadowing him. I'm within like half a foot off his wheel. I'm stalking him. He's done. So now I'm going to pull through and just go ahead and take a pull again. Do what I was doing before. We're going to be turning right. As we turn the corner, I'm in the proper gear. Look at my cadence. Because that's a little bit of a grade in that corner. There's a car coming the other way. I keep it a little steady for a few moments. I'm looking in my mirror. It looks like everybody's back, and I go ahead and put my head down. I think I get in the drops. The effort is the same. You see my heart rate, 160. That's pretty much what I've been for 155, something like that. In a little bit, Mike's gonna go to the front and give me a wheel. I think it's here. I don't have to do anything. Look at that. That's like a rotating pace. Now, we did that the ride after this. We did it on Sunday. We got caught in a rainstorm, and we did a nice rotating pace line on 1488. It's one of the highways we have in the area with very wide shoulder. It was beautiful. We're going into the wind at 27 miles an hour because of the rotating pace line, really. I go ahead and take a drink. The condensation from the ice, I always try to wipe it off my fingertips. I don't want my fingers to be slippery on the bars. It's not significant, it's just a little bit of dampness. So it doesn't leave anything on your shorts necessarily. But those shorts, man, I am just, yeah. They did a good job with it. I hope they keep that model. Because they've sent other shorts that were okay, you know, decent, but these are just at a different level. The quality. They had sent us their base level shorts, and these are up there, and you can tell they're comfortable. You put them on, and you just forget they're there. You don't want to get out of them. Nice and supportive. There's a car up, so we slow down after we turn because we really were going to take this corner. You'll hear Mike talk about it.
All the cars converged at the last minute.
So I mentioned to Mike that we should back off just a tad, let him catch up. They've been gapped the whole time we're riding. The reason why you don't see the camera turning around, we're riding. And Paul didn't have time to be messing around with those guys back there. They're gapped. And so you hear me tell Mike and them, they need to earn our wheel. We don't need to make it easy. So we back off a little, but we're not going to sit up and coast.
Yeah.
I told Paul to let me know when they're back.
Coming.
Still coming.
They're still coming.
Look in the distance back there. They're way back there. It's like we weren't going that hard.
Nobody wanted to come through.
Yeah, they don't want to pull through, and then they're back there with gaps.
I'm taking that corner the way I wanted to.
Well, yeah, Mike said if he had taken a corner the way he wanted to, it would have been a huge gap. You would hear me tell him, well, you got a gap, even though you didn't take it away.
I can read your body language really well. Mike was shifting down, getting the corner wide.
Eldred has learned to read me pretty well.
All racing days, you get dropped once in a race, you have to know who's who, right?
That's right.
What I told him was, he said I've learned to read him. And what I told him was, from racing, you get to know who's who. You got to pay attention to who matters. You got to know the tendencies of people.
And I had to scrub a little speed because that driveway was damp.
Yeah.
I had to back. I was, even if there was no cars, I wanted to take it in as fast.
You have to know who to go with. This whole time we're talking, we're backed up. See, 26 kilometers an hour. We're probably doing like 16, 17 miles an hour. We're giving them a chance to catch up. Now, after they catch up, because we're letting them catch up, you will see one of them will come around me on the last hill, and that's another move that cannot be sustained. So I just ignore it. And that's what I'm talking about. These guys don't understand cycling like we know it. We waited for you, and now you're going to come around and do something. If we hadn't waited, you wouldn't be here. That's what I'm talking about. And like any sport, it helps to have a coach. People who have competed and have had, let's say, a coach or mentor or whatever, they get so much further ahead quicker than people who just do stuff. That's in any walk of life. You know, having the proper training matters because you'll know when to put your nose in the wind. You know. So we're waiting for them. We're not really going. You know, I'm right at bottom of. There they are. We're letting them catch up by just kind of want to keep moving. So we're going at a slower speed. But they don't even appreciate that when they catch up. They want to come around like we were slowing down because we were tired. And then we'll show them differently. And so that's what I'm talking about. Not everybody understands the sport. You know. It's kind of like those of you, I don't know if any poker players in the room. You can't just go to a poker tournament and stop bluffing everybody.
Man, you stretch the peloton, man. What's
you
wrong
get caught.
with you?
I told, yeah, he said we stretch the Peloton. I told him we're not going that hard, not right now anyway. Because we're letting them catch up. You know, it's not fun riding off the front. You know, I mean, it's one thing if you're riding for a finish line, you cross the lines over, but just on a group ride. But if you're riding with people, like there's 4 of us here off the front, we intentionally backed off to let the group come back. Because we're going to stop at Taco and then we're going to go into the forest. And so we want to get as many members that want to go into the forest to go with us. And some of them are in that group.
You
Darren.
got Peloton to behave.
Paul's joking. So you see the jersey, you can see the dark spots on my shoulder. That's the perspiration. It dries real quickly. So while it's drying, you're cool. You know, the wind hitting that and drying you off as you perspire. You know, they call it a max line quick dry or whatever. It really, really makes a difference in the evaporative effect.
Here comes Mr. Dan.
So right here now, we've let them catch up. Now look at this. So if he could do that, why were they off the back? That's my question for the rest of you watching. So when John goes, I go ahead and get on his wheel because he's doing something that he can sustain. You know, at least at this point. There's no point going with Dan. He's going to sit up and go back to the back. You get dropped and people wait for you when you get back. Sit on the wheels because you got dropped because you couldn't do the work. So what are you trying to prove? You know. We're just back there riding. There was no attack. You guys saw it after the attack on the overpass. We were just riding. When we got on that Rabon Chapel hill, when John came in front of me, that's where they got separated. So if you could do that effort, you should have done it on that hill to not get separated. Because nobody's going to wait for you in a road race to come to the finish line. You got to be there. So we just passed him and we're going to just go on and resume what we're doing. I don't want to stop. It's clear, I turn. And then Mike reads me. You know, he's going to come around. You know, I've been sitting in the front the whole mill route, so he's going to come around, he checks for traffic, he's going to give me the wheel, and I'm going to get on his wheel, and we're going to resume what we're doing. So when you're riding, be careful who you go with. Don't go with people who are flashes in the pan. Go with people who can maintain stuff. Mo always mentioned, he would say, it's not sustainable. Go with people who can sustain what effort they show. Otherwise, you would just waste your effort. Unless you just want to be off the front by yourself. Because if you go with a weaker rider, you end up leaving them anyway. So be picky where you use your effort. So this ride was fast. This was not a social ride. You know, we're riding here. We're doing about 23 miles an hour. And we're going slightly up. I mean, you know, this whole thing is a slight grade, and then you got the wind coming from the east, which is on our right. That's what you're hearing. The group has shrunk. We lost a bunch of people. That group was bigger. So from that overpass, we lost quite a bit, at least a third. That guy looked like he didn't want to stop. Mike had to wave, put his arm out, you know, but it just appeared that way. But he stopped. That's what I just said. I said he looked like he didn't want to stop. Yeah, you got to keep your eyes on the other road users because they love to roll stop signs and stuff like that. So sometimes they'll look right through you as a cyclist. They do the same thing to motorcyclists. That's why motorcyclists, a lot of them have very loud exhausts, and they're required to have a headlight on all the time, so they're more visible. And they do that to other cars too. They get on the road and act like the laws don't matter sometimes. So you just have to keep your eye on it. So we watch for all of that. This road is going up. It says 1%. It's the Ninja grade, and the wind's blowing, so it's slowing us down. But we just stayed. I stayed at the front so that we could just kind of keep driving everything. Otherwise, there's a lot of yo-yos. But people, it speed up, slow down. People don't want to pull through. So we made good time. It's hard to follow other riders. You have to find your own rhythm, and sometimes you have to adapt, meaning increase your cadence or whatever, because you're riding at someone else's pace when you ride with groups. So you've got to be able to adjust to variable speeds and be comfortable. In a little bit, I think the road will go downhill. I think Mike Barrera will pull off. We did a lot of good work on this ride. So I'll go ahead and take the lead. And even though it's going downhill, I want to keep the effort up. So I start going through the gears. You'll see the speeds go up because the terrain is downhill. But I'm still working. I'm keeping the effort high. We're almost 30 miles an hour. You hear the wind. I figure if I'm doing 27 miles an hour and somebody wants to come around, they'll have to do 28 to 30. You see, my cadence is up. It saves the legs. I'll turn off the power here. There's a light in the distance. So we worked really hard this entire stretch. It was about 32 kilometers from the Alden Bridge Crust Pizza location. It's a hard 45 minutes or so. I edited for time here and just cut over to where the light changed, because it was a long light.
There we go, green up, green.
This is Highway 105. We're in Conroe, Texas. Well, Conroe and Montgomery. Conroe is to the right, Montgomery's to the left. We're closer to Montgomery than we are to Conroe, but they're neighboring cities. Conroe is much larger. I pulled through, I end up at the front again, and I don't want to really lead these guys up this climb. And so I was gonna look for John, because John likes climbs. So I figured let him come. Since he likes to pass people on the climb, I was gonna tell him, come lead us up this climb. But then when I looked back, he wasn't there. He was further back. I'm looking for him. I told Paul, never mind. I don't see John. So I'm gonna pull over on the shoulder here. And then Mike Barrera, I believe, will come around. And the rest of the group will come. We end up in the middle because at the light we congregated together. There's Mike. So Mike said, come on. I said, well, I'm kind of done. I'll see you at Taco. I was ready to kind of cool down a little bit. So they're all coming around, and Paul, you hear Paul say, let's just sit in the group. He said, they're not doing anything that special.
Let's sit on a bunch. Not doing anything special. I thought I was looking for a shot.
But a lot of times when I ride hard, I like to spin down for a few minutes before I stop. So being able to vary a cadence, you can see how easily I am sitting with the changes in pace. We're going up a climb, it's 2%. The pace is changing. I'm not shifting. You can see my hands on top of the bars. I'm just spinning that same gear. So if you limit yourself to just one cadence range, it just really kind of hinders you. So my intent was to just sit here, ride into Taco, but then when we start to descend, I'm not even pedaling, I'm passing everybody, so I just go ahead and go to the front. Right here, we start to descend. I move to the left, I check my mirror, nothing's coming, we're gonna be turning right. And to avoid braking, I'm sitting in the wind. That's why you see me using the main lane. But regardless of that, I just pass everybody. I'm moving up like 2 or 3 spaces. I'm getting near the front of the bunch. I'm like, okay, if I'm already at the front, might as well go ahead and ride. So I turn with the guys at the front. And then we start to play a little bit. I don't know. Some of these guys, let's see here. This is Harry in the red. Mike's done pulling. So I go to the front and I start to ride. I had not intended to do that. I was going to take a break. But, you know, things just develop differently. I'm on the white line because it's the smoothest spot on this road. This road has a lot of patina. Look at the cracks and crevices. Like an old friend. That's what's his name? Eduardo. He used to ride with a bike bar. Then you start to sprint. I said, okay, let's sprint. I don't know what gear I'm in, but I did not want to shift, so I just kept it. I figure keeping my cadence high, I'd be able to pass it, and sure enough, I passed him. He was tired. Whatever gear he was in, he was tired. So then I just sat up. And then we show up at Taco Corner and everybody and their uncle is here. We're taking over the world. This is like cycling nirvana. Everybody's here. We couldn't even get in the restaurant. We just went ahead and got some water and headed out. Everybody's here. That's Kenny. Paul did not put him on, put his face on film. Paul's holding the camera here. But you can see the guy over there on the right with a Rafa. There were a bunch of people wearing Rafa. That's Kenny walking away with a sun and ski outfit. There's John that was riding with us a little bit. That looks like Pedro on the left there. And this is Eduardo who was sprinting. And I don't think Paul was actively trying to film anybody. He's just holding the camera.
We're on the way home. Got a nice sized group. Got a few guys we picked up.
This is after going in the forest, coming back, stopping at Taco. It's later in the morning. It's about 3:36 into the ride, by 10:21 a.m. We're headed south on Rabon Chapel Road. We just went through this is the four-way that from the hill behind us. We descended, and we had waited for James. About 3 hours into the ride, people started struggling. The people that don't have endurance and don't pace themselves. And so I think James got bitten by a wasp or something. He was having all kinds of challenges. His back was hurting. When you push a lot of heavy gear, you strain your back. So Shempusan is sliding back John to chat with James here. He's asking him because we were waiting for him to catch back up. And so he's trying to find out if he's okay. So I'm gonna go around it. There's a guy in front that he happened to ride with us from the store. And so I'm telling him car back because he's all the way over on the yellow line.
Use one lane.
Yeah, it's like the lane's big enough. I don't know why he went all the way over there. He was in the other lane. This car's trying to pass just to get to the front. You don't need to go that far over. So I told him use one lane. I gave Paul the camera here. I'm gonna ride to the front to let those guys know why we stopped, because Mike was not aware. That's Doug. I'm telling Doug and Mike that James had a problem, because they were not aware that we had stopped for James. They had to wait for us because after a while they didn't see us. So I get to the front and I'm gonna pull the group to the guy's wheel, the guy who was all the way over the yellow line, or almost anyway, and just sit on his wheel till we get to the corner in about probably 2 kilometers. He's I don't know who he's trying to impress, but he's gonna empty the tank, and then in about 2 kilometers he's gonna get dropped on Leah Drive. You'll see it. It's like I mean, he's probably just trying to hang, but he's somebody that was at Taco Corner. They rode off before we left, and our group came and caught their group. And that's how we all merged together, because we didn't have that many riders left after we went into the forest. A lot of the riders from early in the morning went back home when we got to Taco. Pedro, Robert, a bunch of other guys went back home. This is Dan the Man sitting in here. My attitude on rides is, if I feel good, I'm gonna work. I want to get a good workout. That's all it is for me, is a workout. I don't come out to play pools or games. If I don't have good legs, I will either take the day off or sit in the back. But if I'm feeling good, I'm gonna go ahead and work, because that's how you improve. You work and you rest. So there's no point in trying to be cute. There's no tactics in a group ride. It's not a road race. Work as hard as you want so you get strong. When you're strong enough, you have more options. So I'm still on his wheel, and he's still pulling 20, 25, 26 miles an hour, 27. And I'm watching his body language. You can't see it because the camera doesn't have a shot of him, and it's clear to me that he's overextending himself. So I just sit there, just watch. He didn't need to sit up here that long with that many people in this group.
Come back.
So when you're riding, use one lane. I mean, use the entire lane if you want, but stay off the yellow line. That's for people going the other way or cars that want to get around you. You don't leave home to go block people. So I don't like when riders straddle that line. You don't need to be over there. There's plenty of room. I use maybe a half to 25% of the lane. Keep enough buffer between you and the other road users. So I'm at the front at this point. I pass him. He's sitting right here. He was leading. I just went through a stop. I stopped so everybody would stop, because this corner is busy. And you hear Mike say, this is a hard stop.
This is a hard stop right here. Yeah, but we're good. Good, I had that same
I told him, yeah, we're good. It's time to go. We can go. So the bike this guy is on, he's wearing the Houston Astros outfit, it looks like. He's in front of Doug here, the guy in the white jersey. That's Doug's shop. Mike is saying that he had a similar bike. I think it was a P something, it's a Velo. It was a time trial bike that he turned. He said he turned it into a road bike. That's what the guy's on right now. It was a time trial bike. They put road bars on it, and you know, and he said it was a fast frame. He owned one. This is Honia Egypt Road that we turned on. Has a lot of patina, lots of character. I'm gonna go to the front again, you know, and just get us through, just get us going. Keep the group moving. And this was off camera. I don't believe we were filming at the time. Doug had been sitting in, the guy right here in the picture. He wasn't well all week, so he wanted to see how he would feel. So early in the ride, he just sat in through the forest. And I guess he started feeling better because when we hit Mill Rod on the way back, he made a move. We kind of let him go, but that's when we found out that James had problems. So we waited for him. And so in a little bit, when we turn in about probably 1,000 meters, we're going to turn left on this really odd turn. That's what Mike is talking to me about. And this is another thing that can bug other riders because we've been riding for hours. We're riding at a good clip, and Mike will just be chatting with you like he's sitting at the coffee table. And, you know, Mo does similar stuff. And so Mike is talking a lot of times, even though I can talk, I try not to talk too much because I don't want everybody to know, okay, this particular pace is easy for me or whatever. I like to keep that close to the vest, you know. So Mike is talking. He's telling me that the corner coming up, which we're familiar with, we've had some mishaps on that corner. When it's wet, it's an off-camber corner, meaning we're turning left and it leans to the right. So when it's wet, it can push you to the outside. It's really odd how they did it. The good thing is there's grass to the outside. We've had some riders in our group crash on that corner. So that's what I was telling him. I said, yeah, I'm familiar with it. So I have a lot of respect for it. That was his point. He has a lot of respect for this corner. I don't know if the camera will do it justice, but as we turn left, just look at the slope of the road. It's tilted to the right, like a banking to the other side. You see how it just kind of, yeah, and all that, yeah. So when it's wet like that, it will push you. You got to really slow down. You got to watch it. This is Leah Drive. It will take us to Fish Creek. And it has some bumps on here, some nice little climbs. There's some Strava segments here. So I don't know if Doug was going for one, but he lifts the pace here. And so I get on his wheel. Now this is the guy who was pulling back there on the Cervelo that he turned, the time trial bike. So we picked up the pace right here. You see my watts? And we did it quickly. We went from 100 and something watts to almost 400. So it's on. So if you're not able, if you have not been training like that, it just really throws your system out of skelter. He had pulled back there for too long, and now he's trying to hold this effort. And if you look at his cadence, he's not comfortable. He's shifting in that seat. He's trying to find a spot.
Go ahead.
Paul's letting these guys come around because I found out later he was cramping. I think he was cramping on the way back. So he didn't want to increase the effort there. So they come around. He's still going to keep riding. That guy has been dropped. The one I was talking about. That's him on the left there. We're gone. We're in the distance. That dog has pulled off. I'm leading. We're up front. Three of us. Mike, Doug, and myself. That's us in the distance there. He got dropped. He's back with this group. I'm not aware that at the time that I was riding that he got dropped. I was not looking behind. I was just riding. we're gonna turn right at the corner over there. So we'll slow down for the traffic, and there's a little bit of a regrouping that will happen. But I just go ahead and stay near the front for the rest of the ride because it's a lot easier than coming around people who are leaving gaps and, you know, having trouble with the pace and so forth. In a little bit, Paul is going to talk with one rider. You see James's. You see how James looks. That gear is heavy. That's why his back is hurt. He's not shifting. And then sometimes when we follow him, when he shifts, his shifts are very loud. He doesn't lighten the load as the chain is derailing. So you get a clack, 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 clack. You know, it's just noisy and it's hard on your drivetrain. I don't know if he's not aware of it. You're supposed to lighten the load just for that instant until the gear, until the chain engages the cog. You can't be putting full power and then be shifting at the same time, especially if you're going to an easier gear. When you shift, when you go into a harder gear, you can do that. It's probably not as bad. But when you come into an easier gear, you gotta lighten the load. I'm sitting up there just keeping things rolling. Paul's gonna chat with this guy who sprinted with Sana a long time ago. He was with Sana. We made a video called Sana Attacks. They were on the overpass. He's gonna see the camera and say, you know, so they'll thought Paul would tell him to wave. The guy all, you know, Rafa Kid here, all kitted out.
Make sure you win.
That's what he said, make sure you win.
I was the one who did the attack to Sana. Oh, yeah. You remember that? Yes, on the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, Sana attack. There were 3 of them that went up the overpass that day. Mo was filming. That was earlier in the year. This is August. My form has gotten better with all the riding Paul and I have been doing over the years. I fine-tuned stuff, and my form has just reached the point where I'm riding better, riding faster. Let's put it that way. So it was fun. It's good to have good form from time to time. There's a red light here. I think this is Rich Lake Shores. Celsius. It's warmed up a bit, but it's not that bad. .85 Fahrenheit, something like that. There's a hole. I point at it to let them know. I pulled off the front and I just drifted back to like 3rd position and went back in because I want to be near the action. And there is an overpass. The hill that we come down when we're going north on Fishcreek in the morning, we have to climb that on this side of the road. It's a nice, I think it's like 5% or so, but it's how it gets there. It's like a little wall. There's a lot of wind here, and in a little bit you'll see Mike Barrera will just be holding 27, 28 miles an hour for about probably at least 5 kilometers, it seems. I mean, from here, he's pulling right now. I'm in 3rd position. Doug Schott is sitting on his wheel, and we're moving. And this is not wind aided. We are going into the south wind. The wind in the summer here blows from southeast mostly. So it's coming from the left and in our face. This is an undulation of 2%. This is where you need leg speed because we're not climbing a mountain or anything, and it's flat to rolling. So you got to respond. Paul gives me the camera. I ask him if it's okay. He said, yeah.
Filming, right? Yeah.
So he gave me the camera. I think he intended to not ride the last bump where I was talking about, that overpass. He does not want to ride it in anger. I found out later that he was having cramps. So that's why he was not going to push anymore. So we're just cruising at 26, 27 miles an hour. And you can see the winds blowing. I'm riding in 5316 gear at this point, something like that. Keeping the RPMs around 100. In a few kilometers, when Doug takes over, I mean, he's gonna go so fast, the group's gonna be stretched all over, and I'm gonna ride up it after a while and try to slow him down. Then he's gonna wave me up. I'm like, you're doing fine. I just want you to slow down a little bit. I didn't go through until after a little while when he started to slow down. He was getting a little tired, I guess. And then I go through and finish it up. But it was like, we're all over the road. It was just, you know, I don't know if I flipped the camera around. I believe I did, probably once. I guess he had started to feel better because he was coughing in the forest, and I had asked him, it's the guy in the white here, Doug. I asked him if he was okay, and he said, oh, I was sick all week. So I wanted to see how he would feel. So he sat in the early part of the ride. So we're just riding around 25, 27. We've been the whole time I'm talking. Right now 25, but we were just moving. The effort was just there. And I stayed really close to keep my effort down until I, you know, get to take the lead. I'm doing something with the camera. I'm not sure. I'm probably settling it or something. So I think right around here somewhere we're going to get a wider shoulder as we approach the, I think this lake is called Lake Creek Bridge. That's the one we zoomed down from the other side in the morning. And see how nice and wide this shoulder is. It's clean today. Usually there's a lot of crap there. Nice and clean. So even if the shoulder is wide, you want to stay within a foot of the white line. You want to be visible. You don't want to go all the way to the edge of the road should you need to come back. So Doug takes over here and he lifts the pace. So I think I stay in the same gear. My cadence is going down because this part of the road, yeah, you see it says 1%. It's a slight grade before we get to that rise in the distance that you see there. And it gets to 5% in a hurry. So it's one of those leg breakers. And I think Paul knew he did not want to ride it very hard today. That's why he brought the camera up and gave it to me. At this point, I don't know that he's not with us. I believe he let us go somewhere here. So we're beginning to climb here. You can see the watts going up. 500, whatever it is. I downshift once. So I might be in the 17, 53.17. And my legs are screaming. I'm like, it's on. We're riding. And Doug's riding a fairly small ratio. He's spinning that thing. You know, I'm just 90-ish. We're doing 40 miles an hour, and this is a grade. We climbed a 5%, now it's like 2% or something like that. And it just continues. It's a drag into town. And the guys are all over the road. And we're all broken up back there. I don't know if you could tell. I can tell. I can see it in my mirror. So in a little bit, I'm going to ride up. You won't see my hand because it's out of camera range. I'm going to grab his jersey and tap him and let him know. Then he's going to wave me up. I think right here. I'm slowing him down. And then he says, come in. I'm like, you're doing fine. I just wanted you to slow down so these guys can get some kind of organization back there. Because they're all over the road. We're riding really hard here. My heart rate 167. It was like 20 beats lower when Mike was pulling. I just sit on this wheel. I'm going to wait till he slows down, then I'll take the lead. And the draft is right where I am. This road is all curvy, and I'm sitting on this angle where I'm getting a perfect draft. Right there, he slows down, and I just go ahead and roll to the front. I can just feel that he slowed down. I turn the camera around, and it's time to work. So when I pass riders like that, I don't say on your left. The rider is riding a straight line. What are you saying on your left for? What are you going to do? You going to pass on the right? Just pass. Give them plenty of room and go on by. You don't need to say anything. I basically grit my teeth. Look at those vultures. I filmed them on purpose. They look like they were at a funeral. And it turns out, as irony, it turns out that as we get into town, there's a funeral procession. We don't get to see it, but the traffic is all backed up. That's why we go out of town. I don't deal with all this congestion. It was unusual for this area. There's a rider up here. I believe it's Davis. She used to ride with us from time to time. We're gonna pass her. I give her room because she rides like she's scared.
Hey, Davis.
So I tell the guys we're going. We're taking it. This is where the congestion, this is unusual. The cars aren't moving. Usually this thing moves. And so at this point, they get in the left lane, I'm unaware.
Okay.
And by the time I find out, I can't get over it, and these guys are going to take chances. I don't do that. These guys are going to cut in front of that car. I'm not going to do that. What if the car had moved? So what I do is I wait until the cars stop. Then I let the drivers know I want to get across. Because that's just, there's no reason for that. I ride too much to take chances like that. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to let this driver know that I'm going to come across. And he nods his head, and I come out, wave, and thank him, and then I turn.
So get your K's in and keep those doctors far.